Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name's Rose Davidson. As the name suggests, my guests, experts in their field, and I dive deeply into topics relevant to businesses large or small. It could be SEO or marketing, HR management or social media management. Talking with the Experts is all things business by business owners for business owners. I know a lot of business owners are challenged with different aspects of their enterprises, and I saw this as a way of having experts address those challenges. This is not to say that what is said is the gospel, far from it. It is merely one person's perspective on their chosen topic. So, why a podcast? I believe that most people are time poor these days. Most just don't have the time to read a book or watch a video. They could, however, find the time to listen to a 30-minute or less podcast, whether it's driving to work, doing the dishes, or going for a walk. Just plug in the headphones and off you go.
Talking with the experts.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. My name is Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com, and today my guest is Kristina Shea. And Kristina is the founder and CEO of Blue Skies Life. And Blue Skies is written with a Y, and because it's done on purpose. And that's the main topic of today's conversation, is purpose-led brands and wellness as an industry. Welcome, Kristina, and how are you feeling today?
I'm absolutely wonderful. It's the end of the day, so it's getting a little, my energy level is still there, so I'm really pumped. I'm really excited to be on your show today, and thank you so much for having me. I look forward to our conversation.
It's my pleasure. Yeah. Okay, so COVID has caused you to have some self-reflection, and this has been reflected in your business, and it's important now more than ever with consumers wanting to see more authenticity. And I am a great believer in purpose and authenticity. I believe that if you can't be authentic and show up to your audience as the real you, there is really no purpose in being in business. What are your thoughts around that?
I would agree totally. Yes. And, as I said, I've done a lot of, I'm sure a lot of people have done a lot of self-reflection with their extra time during COVID, and really wanting to know and reevaluating why they are doing what they do each and every day. So whether it's getting up in the morning and going to a job, maybe they just, it's mediocre to them, or they detest it, or maybe they love it. That lucky them if that's the case. But I mean, I've always been passionate about what I do. My background is marketing communications. However, throughout the years, I've had a rather eclectic and diverse career. So working, in the financial district for the top tier banks, and sometimes you're just towing that line, and sometimes you're not really believing in everything that you're working on per se, or what you're actually marketing in terms of the messaging. And I've always challenge that why within myself, but definitely during COVID, even more so. And I decided, because I've had my own health journeys as well and challenges throughout the years, that I really wanted to put not only my wellness first, but I wanted to really empower others to take charge of that. So then going back to that why, so Blue Skies Life, during some of my health challenges, I've been diagnosed with brain cyst many years ago, actually, which then was quite debilitating in terms of migraines and pain, etc. But during that time and of challenges, and I also was widowed twice, so my life has been quite the journey. My friends always say Netflix series, maybe, but anyway, so I'd always look at these blue skies, and I'm like, okay, today is a wonderful day, and those blue skies would give me optimism, hope. And it would just be uplifting. And even if it wasn't a blue sky day, I was like, you appreciate it more because of the storms and the clouds that enter. And definitely during COVID, definitely there's been a lot of, gray days, even if the sun was shining, to be quite frank. So people were reevaluating that in their own lives. But I really do feel they were also, as businesses, people are also turning inwards, and they're thinking, oh, well, what's our purpose and what's our why? And consumers really want to see that. You can see a lot of brands that have gotten behind, causes such as BLM, Black Lives Matter, gender inequity. I mean, there's been obviously a lot of discussions in the States about, getting people out to vote. So some very important messaging that was being brought out because people were reevaluating their purpose in life and why they are here. And, I do feel like a lot of people are looking at their bottom line right now, right? So it's an unfortunate situation to be in, but that also can compromise your why and your purpose. And so looking only at the short term, definitely you still have to make those short-term goals, whether it's cutting costs and so on, but don't do it at the expense where you're not aligned with your purpose, because that long-term loss is really what you're going to see. Consumers won't believe in you and they won't trust you.
Okay, so I guess purpose and why, how do they align to be the same? I mean, I know, your why is why you're in business or why you're doing something, and there's a purpose behind that. And are they the same thing, or can you separate them out?
They're similar, but they are somewhat different. I mean, in terms of what we think of the mission and, and so on, what people deliver, the purpose of what their company is, they deliver, X, Y, Z, or whatever that product is. And that's what they're putting out there. And that's their purpose. But there's a lot more to that. They have to know, again, why they exist. Are they trying to maybe, for example, Tesla, they're trying to accelerate sustainable transportation. And that's really their why they exist. But who are they built to serve? And if they understand their audience and that audience is going to appreciate the sustainability factor, I think that's very much intertwined. So having a purpose, yes, you have a product, but why are you here? Are you here to make the world hopefully a better place? And how are you going to do that? I mean, I love Tesla's example because I'm all about sustainability. And I do have their mission and vision here. I was just going to read it out because I just absolutely
you do
it.
that.
Yeah, it's a great example. And so their mission and their vision, they're two different things, right? So the mission is really what, the product, who, what, where, how. So their mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Well, that's really great. And then their vision is a little loftier, which is to create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. So they show how they're going to do it. So having that purpose, really what theirs is about is sustainability of an overarching nature. It's not just selling electric cars. They want to change the world. They want to make it a better place. So their biggest purpose, I think, to me, would be creating sustainable and environmental change through their company. And they do that through their electric vehicles. And obviously he's got a lot loftier ideas, even that, but it really does reflect that. So I think that's really how they work together. And your vision and mission, especially your vision, it's your direction and your compass, right? So that should be aligning with your why, because if your why is not aligning with the direction, for example, you want to create an inclusive company and that's part of your brand purpose. Well, if you're not hiring people of, different genders, different ages, different, all backgrounds and races, I mean, how you're not incorporating that why and that purpose together. Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so what is okay, you've touched on it, but what is a purpose-led brand and what is the ethos behind that?
Okay, the ethos. I can always never say that correctly. I think that's your DNA, right? So it's the DNA of your company. So it's your belief system, your core values. So again, the mission of accelerating change in a sustainable environment, maybe that's obviously using sustainable materials, et cetera, et cetera. So it is really making sure your employees are embedded with that DNA, so to speak, and they're believers of that business. So it's done through brand storytelling. So you have to tell that story, and it's not just within your organization. Definitely your employees are your soldiers, your advocates, your ambassadors. But you have to also tell that story to your consumers, your clients, and your stakeholders. So I always it's a very simplistic way of looking at it because obviously there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I always kind of try to really just put it down into 3 points. So bring that purpose to life in an industry or your organization. It can be from a startup of 2 people to an organization that's global, thousands and thousands of people, which becomes a little more challenging, but really is to identify and commit to that brand purpose. So it has to be within and some inside out. It also has to be outside in. So looking at that consumer, so knowing what they want and want to see and what your purpose has always been in the past? Does that still align with the consumers that are looking at you now? Also, make sure that your company is believing and walking their talk, right?
Yes.
So, yes, and we've seen a lot of, horror stories where we've seen, companies that have had great elevated ideas of where their purpose and what their company was all about, but then they fell off that train. And, maybe it's because they had to make some really hard decisions economically, or there's different leaderships and there's not been a follow-up of that. So identify and commit. And that's committing is really the big thing. So from, the CEO level down to, the people and the junior account executive, they really have to commit to that. But that message has to be given. So you have to next amplify and engage that message. So, give your marketing team, for example, free rein to experiment with creative ways to message that purpose. So that could be an employee initiative internally, really to get people to understand and make sure they live and breathe it. And that's part of their DNA, as I call it. And also let your consumers and your stakeholders really explicitly know how your company is living out its purpose. So you can use social media to amplify that. It can be posts where you're actually actively engaging. You're not just giving a donation to something, but maybe for example, during COVID, a lot of distilling companies were handing out sanitizers to people in the public free, because they wanted to help the community that they lived in and support local. Also, some larger organizations were sewing or getting, personal protective gear like face masks or face shields, and they were being very creative in how they had, raw materials that they could produce those with, and they were giving them and delivering them to frontline workers, whether it was in the healthcare industry or grocery stores. So really, amplifying and engaging inside out, outside in, and really getting people to know what you're doing and tell that story. And then my next one is always embed that and evolve, right? So we were already talking about, getting your organization on board. So really embed that DNA on the intent and the benefits of the purpose. Like, why is this so important? Not only to the organization, but how does that impact their lives? If I'm making the world a better place by making it more sustainable and, using natural ingredients, whether it's in a wellness industry and I'm not using pesticides or, artificial chemicals that are harmful. Or I'm using, ethical labor, I might be using labor abroad, but I'm making sure that I'm really helping the community. I'm not exploiting. But then establish those measurable goals to really see how you're making those goals a reality. Are you measuring your success? So that's where it's evolving. So if you're not making those goals, maybe you have to evolve and reevaluate how you're achieving that purpose.
Yeah. So many businesses look at short-term gain at the detrimental cost of their original reason for starting their businesses, and they lose their purpose and ultimately clients and consumers. So how can they turn around that gain, the short-sightedness of what's been happening and lose their business?
Yeah, we don't. I mean, it's really sad. There are a lot of businesses that are obviously extremely, they're, having hard times, and they're really having to look at their bottom line, and they're really having to look at short-term goals and metrics. Maybe they have to make, a certain amount per month to just make their rent. So those things are a reality. They are not going to go away. So we can't be lofty and say, they don't matter. They definitely do matter. But all of a sudden, if you are cutting costs to such a degree, I mean, you still have to cut costs, but maybe that's done in a different way. Maybe it's not, if you're producing a sustainable, I'm going back to sustainable or natural products. If your company is all about natural wellness and all of a sudden you're using a cheaper solution, which has now pesticides and chemicals, or is using unethical labor, et cetera, well, that's going to be a problem. Maybe there's other ways you can really cut costs. So look internally on your operational side. Kaizen is a really great belief system that is used in a lot of organizations. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so it's a Japanese way of thinking and discipline where they look at other means to basically be more efficient, which that could be costs, it could be productivity, et cetera. just even like the idea of, a few years ago, people enabled with or really activated two-sided printing, right, in huge organizations. Well, think about all the paper they saved and the ink and just the trees they saved, right? So just simple things like that, where they can cost cut those simple little steps or make things simpler. Maybe they're using one supplier or two suppliers instead of 10, and they're streamlining their business. Or maybe they're offering less products. They're really keeping it to that, minimum viable during these challenging times to reduce their costs. But really, they just you don't want to lose track of your purpose and be off track.
Absolutely. I agree with that. That's and you don't necessarily have to put your staff off. You just perhaps need to change the way that you're actually operating your business. As you said, find different ways to, instead of using 10 supplies, use 2. So, and until COVID's finished and, we can all get back to normal, because I know each country is different, and I know that you're in Canada. So, I don't know what's happening over there specifically, but I know in Australia, it's been really challenging, and the government's really come to the fore in providing funding and debt
Debt relief.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's I'm just not, my brain just went dead then. Yeah, debt relief.
Okay, mine does that frequently. I think it's called COVID.
Yeah, I think it might be.
Zooming. I don't know what's the word. I can't even think of the word right now, but you're zoomed out.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
But it's very hard. I mean, there's only so much funds, but Canada has done a great job, I think, and to the best of their ability to help support small businesses in large. Whether it's from, helping companies with rent relief. There's not, it has to be a cooperative effort from the landlords, but also, funding and grants to get people to stay them afloat, because really the domino effect of laying off employees is huge, right? More people are out of work, people can't consume or buy products. And, it's huge. And really, there has to be an empathy to the, for your employees. So as the, a CEO of a huge organization, cutting the bottom line, even if it has to be done, maybe it has to be done. Maybe it's a temporary layoff. Maybe it's done with empathy. Maybe they can have maybe they can continue their benefits while they're unemployed, or maybe it's flex hours to help reduce how many people are actually laid off. So there's all sorts of different solutions to that, rather than just cutting everybody. And obviously too, working at home remotely, I mean, it's saving costs on offices. A lot of people are wondering, maybe they don't need those big offices. Maybe it's hotel desks. People come in once a week and it's a smaller organization to keep in touch, or, there's more work at home. And I think going back to that normal, or what we thought was normal as a wellness, someone being in that industry, and really, I don't think that, normal before it was healthy. People were overworked.
No. So tell me a little bit about Blue Sky's life.
Yeah, so Blue Sky's life, well, it was born out of really my own personal experiences, and it's been a passion project of mine that, I've sort of started in small steps here. And right now I'm really ready to launch in January 2021 in a full capacity. So it is really, I think for me, it's elevating wellness for all, empowering especially women to really take charge of that. And that's really for all aspects of your life, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So there's all these different facets to wellness. It's not just, I'm going to wear my Lululemon pants and take a yoga class and then drink a smoothie. So it's a very holistic approach. I really want to take it from a female-focused lens. Obviously, I'm very inclusive. I'm a very huge supporter of the LGBTQ community as well. So really, I want it to be inclusive, modern lifestyle brand that elevates and gives women tools, education, also just some small luxury indulgent items that they can afford that will really help elevate their wellness, their serenity, and also reduce anxiety. So how it came to be, I mean, as I mentioned very early on, was that I was diagnosed with a brain cyst that was really quite debilitating for me because I suffered migraines every day. And for years, I decided not to go to surgery or anything like that. So I treated it with my own way. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm not a doctor, so I know Australia, I'm not sure I know there's some opening up with cannabis regulations, but I discovered cannabis as a whole to help treat my pain instead of using opioids, which I became, to be honest, quite addicted to. And it affected my relationships. It really affected, I was very functional at work still, but I was not a nice person to come home to. And I was, trying very hard to keep it all together. I was a single mom. I'd been widowed twice. Unfortunately, I mean, I won't get into that long story, but it was very difficult financially, emotionally. And then my focus became literally looking after my daughter. So I wasn't taking care of myself. So you know how you always say, put on your oxygen mask first before you help others? I wasn't doing that. And I was pushing myself through work, working insane hours, whether it was at the financial district or then later getting into the cannabis industry. I learned my lessons, but I was forgetting them, right? So the COVID really reawakened me. And I said, okay, pause. This is happening for me for a reason, and I really have to listen. So that blue sky mentality, where I'm always looking to the blue skies for hope, optimism, and healing, that's how I really came to name my company. And it's a lifestyle, right? So again, that's really how it came to be. And really what I want to do is create a platform that not only elevates wellness for women, but I want to elevate women as a whole. So I also want to use the platform to help engage women to have a voice. So I'll be interviewing women just like you, interviewing some amazing people about their stories of, whether it's health, personal, their stories of resilience, successes, trials and tribulations, which really what makes us all human, right? And it's all about that. So I think sharing stories, it's not just me that has a story, it's not just yourself, it's everyone. And I think we can all learn and be inspired by others and collaborate together, especially as women. I think we have a much stronger voice when we're together collectively than when we're alone, right?
Absolutely, yes. I used to work for a government organisation many years ago, and there weren't a lot of women in the organisation. It was very male dominated, and I was very opinionated, and of course, that wasn't taken very kindly by management. But I got not that I got my way, but it made a lot of sense to the people that I was actually working with, so that at the coalface. But yeah, management didn't like it because it came from a woman. But if it had been the same suggestion from a man, I'm pretty sure that it would have been taken on board. But yeah.
Yes, I've definitely experienced that where I've said, a very clear suggestion or a tactic or whatever to approach something, and then, been basically booed. And then within even the hour or the next day, but often within the same hour, someone else comes up with the same thing and it happens to be not a woman. Let me just put it that way. And that all of a sudden there's a resounding, oh, that's such a great idea. Yeah. So I think as women, especially in our generation, we've really experienced, we were in the workforce and it was, a given that we were going to be there, but are we going to be heard? Are we going to have that voice at the table? So I realized I could really tie my blue skies life, my wellness and all that into that and really create, and I don't know if I don't like swearing, but build my own damn table.
Yeah,
So
that's fun.
Yeah. And so build that table and invite other women to that table. So maybe they can also be inspired to build their other tables in their own circles and really amplify our voices. I don't want my daughter to have to go through, the harassment, the, pay inequity, the ridicule, or just that, I would call it the imposter syndrome. We're all very well educated, most of us. And even if we're not, we have a lot of experiences to draw on. And our voice is just as much valued or should be valued as a male's or anyone for that matter. And that's not just women, it's for, all genders, races, et cetera. It's all about inclusivity and inviting everyone to that table and to collaborate.
Yeah. So how can businesses, large or small, incorporate what you're trying to bring to the table into their business?
That's an interesting question. I think in terms of the wellness, because that word's been overused, like I need to think of a new word, but I do think a lot of companies, especially the large organizations, I used to work for one, what their mantra was? Achieve or leave. Well, that is not not a good mindset, and definitely not one that really engages or promotes wellness as a whole. I think if companies, large or small, if they can somehow engage where having more access to mental health professionals. A lot of us suffer from anxiety, and often it's due to work and pressure and deadlines. And maybe there has to be more realistic work-life balance, flex hours, and really incorporate that wellness and balance into the organization as a whole. So it's not just something we do at home and go to hot yoga and drink that smoothie and take a hot bubble bath. Those things are definitely important, but I think as an organization, we spend 8 hours or more. I used to work 80 hours a week. Totally not, that's not healthy, and nor should any organization be demanding of that. So I think we have to really evaluate that. Maybe it's become 4-day work weeks are becoming a topic of conversation these days. And, working at home is giving people more flexibility with their lives as well. So from a corporate level, that's what we can do. And I also do think, well, what were we talking about now? I'm getting a little brained out here. So
how can what you provide, how can organizations, large or small, incorporate that into their business?
Yeah, so I think that's really incorporating that wellness mindset as a holistic approach, I think, and empathy for their employees, and communicate. And in terms of their then transcending purpose into and wellness into what they're doing as an organization, really communicate that and put that into your stories, right? So if you're, telling a story, maybe you're telling a story about a certain employee, if they're willing to do that, and about their challenges and how the organization supported them, for example, during those times. I mean, as just being a widow, I have to say both organizations were horrible to me during those times. They were not supportive. 2 days off, or even a few days off, even if you do have a little bit of time, it's huge. It's changed my whole life, and to be right back at it, I'm not going to be at full capacity, right? So, I think there has to be some empathy for employees that are going through hard times. And during COVID, a lot of people have lost their spouses, their loved ones, and even if it's not their husband, it might be their mother or father, and they haven't even been able to say goodbye. So I really think offering, some sort of not only maybe time where they can really take that time for themselves and their family, but also really offering services or connecting them with people that can help them.
Yep, no, I agree. I think a lot of non-government business, non-government businesses, and organisations could look at that as a model for their employees. I think they're too stringent and they're too greedy to me. I'm using the word greedy loosely. But they're looking too much at their bottom line and not enough. If you don't have staff, you don't have a bottom line, basically, because, this is why you have staff, because you want to grow your business. So, if you don't treat them well, they're not going to, your business isn't going to thrive or flourish. So.
No, I think you should look at it as an ecosystem, right? So your business is an ecosystem. It's just like your body is an ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
So if in cannabis, where we call it homeostasis, but it's not just cannabis, but it's a balance of your whole body. So if something's off, something else comes to defend it. But it is really that balance. So if your body's not healthy, you're not healthy, right? It could be just one aspect. It's just like a business, if your legs aren't working, well, the rest of your business, as if you're comparing it, that analogy, it's not working. It's not maybe walking well, and let alone running. So I think that's really how you have to look at it. And people all have their parts within that organizational body to run. And sometimes you do have to help each other out and support each other. And I think that's the best way to really, as a comparative or a metaphor, is to think of your business as an ecosystem. They are a family. They might not be your direct blood family, but I think you should incorporate that golden rule, how you want to treat, or how you would like to be treated, you should treat others. And that kindness, and that should be contagious throughout your entire organization. Let's get done with COVID here, and the contagion be, the vaccine cure that, but let's put kindness as the next contagion. That would be fabulous, whether it's organizational or personal.
Absolutely. I agree. Totally 100% agree with that. Anyway, we've run out of time, Kristina. Thank you so much for your insights into purpose. As I said, it's one of my favourite topics, and good luck with the launch of your business.
Yes, and please do follow me at Blue Skies Life. And again, skies is spelt with a Y, so Blue Skies Life at Instagram, Facebook, and you can also visit www.blueskieslife.com.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and I will get you on again another time, and we'll discuss something a little bit different.
Okay, I would love that.
That'd be
Yes, and
great.
thank you again for having me, and have a wonderful rest of your day down under.
You do. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.